Since, Your Excellency, it is not every day that I get a chance to stand before you and address you on behalf of the Muslims, allow me, Your Excellency, to share with you some pertinent issues relating to the Muslim community in the country. For nearly 2 decades, a silent policy of discrimination against Muslims in this country persisted in the issuance of the national identity cards. Under the guise of a vetting process, the acquisition of this vital document by Muslims was transformed from a right to a privilege. This process, unfortunately, bore the hallmarks of injustice against Muslims. Despite relentless calls by the Muslim leadership of the country, including appeals to the highest office of this country, our voices were largely ignored. Mr. President, today I stand before you on behalf of the Muslim population of this country to say to you a big thank you. And to express our heartfelt gratitude to you for listening to our cries and abolishing vetting for issuance of IDs to Muslims. We thank you for not only listening to our pleas, but also taking a decisive action to eliminate this discrimination policy. Even in the face of opposition from those who sought to maintain this unjust practice, you remained resolute and unshaken. This action will undoubtedly be one of the lasting legacies of your leadership that will be remembered by the Muslims for generations to come. Your Excellency, in the same stride, we humbly request that your directive be extended to the issuance of passports, where having a Muslim name is an automatic ticket for vetting. It is discrimination and gives a sense of feeling that we are less Kenyans and we are not. We believe that such practices have no place in our nation. We are Kenyans like any other Kenyan in this country. Your Excellency, we are hopeful that you will address this matter with the same commitment of justice and fairness. Mr. President, we also commend you for continuing the tradition of waiving taxes on dates during the holy month of Ramadan. I have chosen, Your Excellency, to commend you specifically, and I repeat, specifically you, because C.S. John Badi officially wrote back to us in January telling us that his hands were tied. So it is through your intervention, Your Excellency, that Muslims received a tax waiver on the importation of dates during this holy month of Ramadan. Asante sana, Your Excellency. We request, Your Excellency, that this noble gesture be institutionalized for the coming years, and that the waiver be gazetted well in advance of the blessed month, allowing for broader distribution. For the second consecutive year, Mr. President, your government has provided food support to vulnerable Muslims during the month of Ramadan. We understand that the program, which costs more than 100 million shillings, is a goodwill gesture from Your Excellency and aims at ensuring the vulnerable Muslim households in various countries have access to meals during this holy month of Ramadan. It is a noble gesture which the Muslim community greatly appreciates, Your Excellency. Mr. President, last year we made an appeal to your good self for an alternative Sharia-compliant mechanism in the Hustler Fund to see to it that Muslims also enjoy its benefits. It is our understanding, Your Excellency, that you decided to go broad by directing the National Treasury to work with the financial regulators and Islamic finance stakeholders, and that you have approved a task force of regulators to work and come up with a framework that shall not only promote but develop and grow the Islamic finance space in this country. Mr. President, while we are the pioneers of the Islamic finance industry in this part of the world, our neighbors, Tanzania, and more so Zanzibar, are overtaking us. As you are aware, the government of Zanzibar issued its first quasi-sovereign sukuk of about 440 million US dollars to finance its development projects. Your Excellency, this is our domain, and we humbly request that you impress the task force to fast-track the delivery of the TORs so that Kenya assumes its rightful position of leadership in this area. Your Excellency, last year, we also drew your attention to the pending issue of the appointment of Waqf commissioners. Through your intervention, and I remember you humbly took responsibility for it last year. As promised last year, a selection committee comprising of eminent individuals from various Muslim organizations were established to facilitate the appointment of commissioners. Since the appointment of this selection committee over a year ago, there has been little tangible progress. The operations of the selection committee seem to have stalled, and this is affecting the establishment of the Waqf Commission, which is vital to the socio-economic development of the Muslim community. Once again, we kindly request that you intervene with the AG to facilitate the operations of the selection committee so that the appointment of commissioners can be finalized and the Waqf Commission can begin its work. In addition, Mr. President, following our appeal last year, you issued a clear directive to schools that were prohibiting Muslim female students from wearing the hijab. Regrettably, despite your directives, a number of schools continue to deny Muslim students their constitutional rights to express their faith. Some institutions even prevent Muslim students from performing their prayers while compelling them to engage in religious practices that are not part of their faith. We respectfully urge you once again to direct the CS for Education to ensure that schools respect the rights of Muslim students to freely exercise their religious beliefs. Your Excellency, while we appreciate the steps taken towards realizing the aspiration of the Nubian community to be officially recognized as among the Kenyan tribes, the issue of their recognition remains a pending matter. Communities such as the Shona, Makonde, and Pemba, who have had a shorter presence than the Nubian in this country, are now happily enjoying their status as Kenyan citizens after the government accorded them due recognition. We earnestly appeal that this pending issue is expedited to enable the Nubian community, who have proved their patriotism towards this country, fully attain their rights as citizens of Kenya. Mr. President, the situation in Palestine has remained a painful source of anguish, not just for Muslims, but for people of all backgrounds who value humanity and justice. Over the past year, the world has witnessed what can only be described as the most heinous crime of the 21st century, genocide perpetrated by Israel against Palestinians. The relentless bombings, the destruction of entire cities, the massacre of innocent families, and the deliberate starvation of Gaza's population are acts of incomprehensible cruelty. For Muslims, Palestine holds deep spiritual significance, being home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest site in Islam, which has also faced persistent violations by Israel. We implore the government to adopt the positions held by United Nations and the African Union and strongly condemn Israel for its genocide actions against the people of Palestine. As a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, Kenya should take a leading role in supporting the rights of the oppressed Palestinian people. We urge the government to support the Palestinian cause through voting in favor of UN resolutions that support the Palestinian people's rights to freedom, peace, and self-determination. Your Excellency, last but not least, thousands of young boys and girls who undergo a 12 years madrasa education system are unable to further their education here in Kenya due to lack of policy guidance and regulations linking their 12 years of education and higher education studies in Kenya. Consequently, they are forced to pursue further studies in foreign countries, which only a few can afford. We are humbly requesting for the development of regulations of operationalization of the Madrasa Duksi system into the basic education framework and qualification framework and criteria for admission into universities and college, at least for the Islamic studies and Sharia degree programs. We remain hopeful, Mr. President, that under your leadership, these matters will receive the attention they deserve, and that together we will continue to work towards a just and inclusive Kenya for all. Lastly, allow me to remind myself and the leadership present here that leadership is not an honor, but a weighty responsibility and a burden. And we shall be asked about how we discharge this responsibility on the day of judgment by our Lord. Allow me once again to share with all of you the words of my spiritual mentor when he was counseling me on leadership. He told me, "My son, when God gives you authority over a people, show your gratitude to your Lord by humbling yourself to those people." So I urge myself and urge each one of you to build our hereafter by discharging our responsibility over the people that God has given us authority in a manner that will earn our Lord's pleasure. As we end the holy month, let us not lose sight of the purpose as to why the Almighty prescribed fasting to us as it was prescribed for those before us. God clearly says that all you who believe, fasting has been prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may attain piety. Piety, in short, is doing all that pleases God and keeping away from all that displeases God. We pray to the Almighty to guide us in our service to our people, service to our nation, and grant you, our President, the wisdom and understanding to lead this country to greater prosperity. We beseech the Creator to bestow on you the ability and insight to ensure that peace, unity, and harmony continue to prevail in this country. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace be upon you all.
Thank you very much, Professor. One more round of applause for Professor. He has spoken indeed like a professor. At this point, allow me now to invite Hassan Olenado, National Chair of the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims, SUPKEM. We can welcome him with a warm clap as well.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, allow me to also follow the protocols that have been established by saying all protocols observed. Your Excellency, I think Professor Esaji have done justice to all what I also wanted to say. And that is actually a demonstration that our thinking, our hearts were actually together as he was preparing his speech, because it is exactly the things that I wanted to say, he have managed to say. But allow me, Your Excellency, just to point out two of the issues that I think Professor did not capture. Your Excellency, we gather every year here as an opportunity for us to fellowship with friends old and new to celebrate incredible diversity of our great nation. I therefore want to recognize the members of the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims who have accompanied me today, and most importantly, the various leaders of the Muslim community from across the country. Your Excellency, we honor the tradition of Islam. I wish to reiterate that for Muslims, Ramadan is a month of deep spiritual reflection, discipline and devotion. It is also a reminder of values that we share, including peace, charity, and importance of family, community, while caring for the less unfortunate among us. Indeed, these are universal values that all among us, humanity, irrespective of their faiths. Your Excellency, allow me also to thank you most sincerely on behalf of the Muslim community for your efforts on inclusivity, which have seen more Muslim leaders appointed to various positions in your administration under the banner of the broad-based government. This has seen many Muslim leaders from diverse corners of our country, including from the Muslim community, being well represented in the governance of our country. Your Excellency, we also commend your tireless efforts towards fixing the political paralysis that have plagued our country since last year's Gen Z's protests. Indeed, your humility that you exhibited when you reached out to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga for the stability of our beloved country demonstrated that you are truly a statesman, keen in uniting the country despite of divergent political interests that both of you held prior, during, and immediately after the 2022 general elections. Knowing the opposing positions, it was very encouraging that both of you decided to set aside personal desires and agreed to work together for the common good of our country. As we speak today, Kenyans now feel a sense of stability and are hopeful that the government is going to deliver the promise of economic prosperity which they deserve. We will continue praying that you and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga remain true to your covenant to unite Kenyans despite their divergent cultural, spiritual, or intellectual backgrounds. Your Excellency, having pointed out the milestones and achievements of your administration, allow me to point just one of the issues that Your Excellency that requires your personal efforts and vigilance. Your Excellency, the education system in our country. We urge Your Excellency to steer the process yourself so that the Kenyans get confidence of the education that they are looking forward to educate their children. Your Excellency, I could have said something about the universal health program. I was privileged, Your Excellency, we spent a lot of time with you this afternoon, and I don't think I have anything to say, but I can tell the Muslim community, SHA is a success. And finally, as I go to sit down, Your Excellency, is in matters of governance in our country that I am requesting that you consider rescheduling regular roundtable forums with leaders from diverse religious backgrounds. Given that the religious institutions hold significant stakes in education, health, and even vocational and empowerment sectors in this country, among other things, we feel that the routine engagement with the religious leaders will be critically effective in complementing the government's efforts in socio-economic development agenda and progress in our beloved country. It has been said, Your Excellency, I don't want to labor again, is the question about the Palestine, but Your Excellency, we urge you to add your voice as a key leader in the region. It has also been mentioned about the Waqf. I happen to be a part of the panel, and tomorrow, inshallah, we have a meeting with the AG. We schedule a meeting for tomorrow, and maybe the way forward will be established, but we invite Your Excellency to continue pushing that agenda so that we put it under record. And finally, as I go to see Your Excellency, on behalf of the Supreme Council, Your Excellency, allow me to invite you to an inauguration of the Waqf project which the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims is implementing with the support from the state of Qatar, and the project is going to be in Outer Ring Road, and Your Excellency will want you, if Allah allows, to inaugurate that occasion so that the Muslim community also contributes to the very many works that you are doing. And thank you very much. May Allah bless you and keep you focused to continue delivering for our great nation. Wa jazakumullahu khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, Hassan Olenado, Chair SUPKEM. Your Excellency, sir, to take over the program now, I would like to invite the Cabinet Secretary for Environment, Climate Action and Change, Honorable Eden Duale. Tumkaribishe kwa makofi. Karibu sana, Waziri.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Your Excellency, on behalf of the Muslim community, we are very happy to join you this evening for an iftar. And my work is just to be the MC. And because today is 26, the Muslim faithful, and Tahajjud is prayers is waiting for us. The excellent Tahajjud prayers is prayers that we pray late from 2:30 to around 4:30. And one time, the former Attorney General, Professor Gideon Mugai, asked me when he was AG, why are Muslims praying at 3:30 and 4:30? So I asked him, before I answer you, what were you doing around Halinga Mosque yourself first? Why were you driving at that hour? So Excellency, because of the neighborhood, I'm sure these days 2:30, 3 o'clock up to 4:30, you will hear the prayers going on in your neighborhood here. So I'm asking our good Muslim faithful that to fupishe the people will call, so that we can go back home and prepare. These are very important last 10 days. So Your Excellency, let me call to represent the members of Parliament. Let me call the senior most, Honorable Adam Kainan, and I will not leave here. I will be standing behind you. And then later I will call our party leaders. I think all has been said by Professor Esaji and Brother Hassan Al-Nado, as we just need now to wrap up what is remaining. Mheshimiwa Kainan.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, the Honorable Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the Chief Cabinet Secretary, CSs, all protocol observed. Waislamu wenzangu, assalamu alaikum. Nafikiri yangu itakuwa fupi sana. Mheshimiwa Rais, tunakushukuru sana kwa kutualika. Hapo zamani za kale, wakati Mheshimiwa marehemu General Kaiseri alikuwa kwa kamati yangu, he used to say, hapa ilikuwa nyumba ya one of the wives of his grandfather. Yeah, one of the wives of his grandfather. But courtesy of our great nation, things have changed. From 2013 to date, we have witnessed so many changes here within this facility. And every year there's an improvement. I want to thank you as a person who has been around and say thank you for allowing us to come and have an iftar with you. Your Excellency, mambo ya dini Sheikh Zaji amesema, yeye ni Sheikh. Ya pili, Professor Hassan Nado pia amesema. Mimi kama Sheikh ya dini ya Kiislamu na pia kama Sheikh ya kisiasa, ningependa kwanza kukushukuru kwa sababu umetutambua, umetuheshimu. Na ule mtu ambaye amekutambua na amekuheshimu pia amekudhamini. Wamesema umetambua Waislamu, sio Waislamu peke yao, ni wale wamenyimwa haki yao tangu tulipata uhuru. That is the entire marginalized communities. Kwa hivyo ikiwa tuko hapa sisi ni Waislamu, lakini katika Waislamu pia kuna face ya Kenya, kila jamii. Kwa hivyo ningependa tushukuru kwa kutukubalia in resolving some of the historical injustices. Mambo ya kipande, nimesikia Professor saizi ameongea mambo ya passports. Mara ya kwanza ukipata kipande, passport ni rahisi. Ile kibangizi ya kwanza, ile shida ya kwanza ilikuwa ID. ID imepatikana, kwa hivyo passport itakuwa rahisi. Ya pili, Mheshimiwa Rais, sisi ambaye tunatoka mkoa sehemu ya Northern Kenya, kabla serikali yako tulikuwa na shida na walimu. Leo hii kila pembe sehemu yetu kuna walimu ya kutosha. Courtesy of 2 years affirmative action by your government. Siku karibu utatualika tuwapatie walimu sehemu zingine. Kwa hivyo tunasema asante sana. Umeona Ringtone juzi, Mheshimiwa Rais, wakati ulienda kwetu, barabara kutoka Garissa hiyo sehemu. Juzi 2 days ago nilikuwa na fursa ya kwenda kama mwenyekiti ya Northern Kenya MPs kukaa na wale watu ya Kenya. Na ningependa niwaeleze it's almost there. Hiyo barabara ni kama kila shida imemalizwa, na siku karibu inshallah tutapata njia ya kutumia hiyo barabara na lami itaanza. Nikimalizia, Mheshimiwa Rais, ningependa pia niwaulize hao Waislamu wenzangu. Huyu mzee William Ruto ametualika hapa. Juzi uliona gavana mwingine huko akimpiga. William Ruto hakufanya makosa. Alisema Wakenya wote wapate haki yao. Je, tuko tayari to walk the talk as Muslims and say we come up with a policy called adapt a voter. And I can assure you, you are not a minority. You are not a minority. Remove that psyche. You are not a minority. Let's stand with the president. Let's support these good policies so that tusiongoje tulilamike. Umetufonyesha. Mimi sikubali kuitwa a minority. Na wewe sikubali. Let us occupy our space and demand for our rightful chairs as demonstrated by the goodwill from the president. Asanteni sana, nawashukuru.
Excellency, hakuna lakini Sheikh anaitwa ya siasa. Sheikh ni yule Mheshimiwa Kainan. Sheikh ni yule ambaye tunasimama nyuma yake tukiwa misikiti, lakini kwa upande wa siasa tutapatia jina lingine. Wacha nichukue fursa hii na tufupishe Secretary General ya chama cha UDA, Mheshimiwa Senator Hassan Omar Sarai. Mheshimiwa Rais, viongozi wetu wengi, magavana, wabunge wengi wako uko Mecca, ndio leo wale tuko ni wale ambao hawakwenda. Karibu Mheshimiwa.
Your Excellency the President, Muslims gathered here, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think most have been said by our colleagues. Honorable Duale and I will recall, before the elections, hii muungano wetu ulifanya ahadi nyingi sana, especially kwa jamii zile za wachache na zilizotengwa. For the first time in our history, I even keep saying this all the time because kama Kainan, I have witnessed 4 governments. I was an activist during Moi's government. I was a senator partly during Kibaki's government. As a commissioner. I was a senator during Uhuru Kenyatta's government. And I am now Secretary General during William Ruto's government. This undeniably and undoubtedly is the best government the Muslims have had. One, we have populated the ecosystem of government in all manifestations. Katika ulinzi tuko, katika siasa tuko, katika biashara tuko, katika kila ngazi za serikali na za kisiasa tuko. In fact, I think it is the empowerment of the minorities that has elicited such enormous reaction from those people who are entitled with this shareholding philosophy towards William Ruto's presidency. Lakini mimi nataka kukuashua, Your Excellency, this community stands by its word. Tarehe 7 February, when you gazetted or degazetted any discrimination against Muslims or any minorities or any corner tribes, that was the actual Independence Day for many of us since 1963. Kwa hivyo, Waislamu husema pale panapokuja ihsan, tutajibu na ihsan. Wewe usijali, katika hii maeneo yetu ya pwani, maeneo yetu ya kaskazini mashariki, I can assure you we will vote for you in our numbers to the very end. Maybe a small announcement I wanted to make, and I was consulting with my brother Hassan Olenado, which is through your personal intervention. Last year, tulimleta Secretary General of the Muslim World League, Dr. Isa Hapa, State House. And through the Secretary General, Chairman of SUPKEM, and the President, he made a passionate request to Dr. Isa of a Kenyan who was facing penalty by beheading, death for murder, to try and see whether an intervention can be made. I think the ambassador of Saudi Arabia to Kenya, Ambassador Khalid, and our ambassador in Saudi Arabia have confirmed that that request has since been honored. The $1 million has been paid, and the Kenyan will return home safe. But also to warn Kenyans, wherever you are, to respect the laws of the territories that you live in, be it in Vietnam, be it in Malaysia, be it in South Africa, be it in Saudi Arabia. The government can intervene, but the government has its limitation. Ukiamua uende kwa territory ya mtu, heshimu sheria ya mtu, so that Kenyans are law-abiding and peace-loving people. Ya mwisho, wajua mimi naitwa msemaji wa UDA. So ile mtu, kuna wakati moja jamaa mmoja wa mlima alisema kuna vikaratasi vinapelekwa. So mimi mara nyingi sana ndio upatia watu karatasi, Isa utazungumza hivi, Dania atazungumza vile, so others will speak more and more about the UDA party. But my request to you, for us to strengthen our hand, I am requesting you as Muslims, because politics is not alien to us, to become members of this great party. The deputy party leader is now a Muslim, my brother Isa Timami. The Secretary General is a Muslim, Hassan Omar. Aden Duale is in this party. Many other leading Muslims are in this party. I'm sure Kenan will join us soon. I'm sure Ado will join us soon. I'm sure many of you will join us soon. I can see Ali Hashako there. I invite Muslims to paint your territory yellow in the next elections and the year beyond. Asanteni sana, and thank you for this invitation.
Asante Senator Hassan, our Secretary General. Wacha nimuite Gavana wa Marsabit, ndugu yangu Mahmoud Ali Abshiro, to speak on behalf of the governors present.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the President, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Speaker of the National Assembly, Leader of Majority in the Senate, all ministers, all governors, all MPs, and all Muslims gathered here this evening. Assalamu alaikum. Your Excellency, it's indeed an honor to be here for this iftar invite, and I want to join the rest of the leaders who have acknowledged your recognition of the Muslim Ummah. It is now your third year in office, and every year during the month of Ramadan, you've not failed to invite the Muslims here at the State House. This is indeed great honor, and we want to thank you very much. Secondly, I also want to agree with the leaders who said that your administration has indeed rewarded Muslim Ummah at every level of governance, be it in the executive, and indeed as recognized here by the Secretary General of UDA, even in the political arena and in the development sphere of our great nation, Kenya. Today, the road joining Isiolo to Mandera is in the process of being done, and contractors are all on site, and we want to acknowledge your effort in ensuring that there is no discrimination in any part of this country. Finally, and most importantly, the fact that you declared issuance of identity cards are going to be fair for every child in this nation is the very most important legacy you are leaving with the Muslims and indeed all the pastoral communities and the border communities in this nation who have been discriminated against. I want to say that to those whom much has been given, much is required. So for those of us who have been acknowledged and have been treated fairly by yourself, we want to pledge support to your administration and to yourself, Your Excellency. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
On behalf of my other two bosses, the Prime Cabinet Secretary and the Speaker of the National Assembly, it's now my duty and honor to invite the President of the Republic of Kenya and the Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, Your Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto.
Ndugu Waislamu, assalamu alaikum. Tafadhali mketi chini. Viongozi wote wenzangu, ndugu Waislamu, jioni ya leo kwanza nataka nimshukuru Mungu kwa kutupatia nafasi hii ya jioni ya leo kupata nafasi pamoja na nyinyi kufuturu pamoja, hasa siku hii 10 za mwisho. Najua ni ya muhimu sana, na niseme karibuni hapa kwa niaba yangu na familia yangu. Wale mnafika hapa mara ya kwanza, karibuni. Wale mnafika hapa tena, karibuni tena. I know that we would have wanted to listen to our two other leaders who are present with us here this evening, but I have another engagement exactly at 8:30, because as you all know, we have a situation in our region of different types of instability, and and Kenya is providing leadership in many respects to stabilize our region. To all of you, let me say how proud I am to be associated and to be part of this Muslim community. I have proudly worked with many Muslim leaders. We have done many things together. We have built mosques together. We have built churches together. We have built madrasas together. And it is because we believe in God. And I want to encourage you as Muslims to continue not just believing in God, but doing something about it. Because we are all the better as a nation if we believe in God. A nation that doesn't have God in its equation is a nation that has no future. And I am very proud as president of this country that I lead a religious nation. And I want to tell you that we must never take it for granted that we have the freedom of worship in Kenya, and that we can worship God however we want. There are countries who do not have the privilege that we have. There are countries where religion is under pressure from politicians and from public policy. We are proud that in Kenya we share our religion freely and we work together freely. And I want to ask our religious leaders let us celebrate the freedom of worship in Kenya. Let us not tusiingize kiburi katika mambo ya dini katika taifa letu. Taifa la Kenya tumebarikiwa na nafasi ya uhuru wa kuabudu katika taifa letu. Kenya hii, serikali, sisi zote freely tunaungana na dini, tunashiriki dini, tunafanya kazi kusaidia dini zetu. It is only in Kenya that religious leaders are opposed to people supporting religion. I wish they knew that there are places where religion is under siege from politicians and from public policy. So I want to encourage you, mwendelee na kumtolea Mungu, mwendelee na kujenga. Mimi ni mjenzi, and you don't need any evidence more than you can see. You know, I am in the business of building schools. We've built 17,000 classrooms in the last 2 years. As a person, I am building 167 classrooms in Nairobi County alone. We are building 154,000 affordable housing units across Kenya. We are building 240 new markets around Kenya. We are building close to another 100,000 hostels or hostel spaces for our children in Kenya. We are building roads. And as you know, this building was not there. I built it. And behind me, I am also building something else. And so, we are not going to leave our churches and our mosques behind. We will build them as well. Let us continue nation building. That is how you build a nation. And nation building is work in progress. We must keep at it and continue doing that which we must do in building our nation. I will proudly say that this nation is a nation that believes in God. Even when we have challenges, look at what God has done for our nation. When we thought things have fallen apart, God has put it together better than we had even organized ourselves. And so, I will continue the journey of eliminating prejudices, reducing and eliminating differences, making sure that equity, equality, fairness, and leaving nobody behind become the definition of our nation. And I want to give you my word, by God's grace, this country is going to move forward. Na waeleza kwa mapenzi ya Mungu, nchi yetu ya Kenya, tumekubaliana ya kwamba tuondoe yale mambo ambayo yanatuletea ubaguzi. Mumesema hapa kuhusu mambo kadha. vitambulisho, mambo ya passports, mambo yale mengine ambayo yanatuletea matatizo ya ubaguzi. And I have committed myself that nchi yetu ya Kenya tutaondoa ubaguzi, tutazima chuki, tutaondoa migawanyiko, tutamaliza ukabila. Ndio Kenya isimame iwe moja. I know there are people who feel jittery when we talk about equity and equality. There is absolutely nothing to be fearful about, because unity, equality, fairness, justice is good for everybody. And so we must do it together. So, and I want to, because we are in an occasion that has a religious bearing, and we thank God that we can celebrate our religion in different ways, but in harmony as a nation. And we can do it together. That we will pursue the things that unite us, that bring us together, that creates an environment where all our aspirations can be achieved. And I am very confident that we will succeed together. I have said, and I will repeat here, that the government of Kenya is able to carry all of us from different backgrounds, from different communities, different religions. We can all fit in the government of Kenya. And nobody needs to walk out for somebody else to come in. Na kama kumekuwa na mtu mwenye ako na taswishi kwamba serikali ya Kenya inaweza kututosha sisi wote. Now we have a broad-based government. Everybody is here. Sasa tuko na watu kutoka kila mahali. Na bado haijajaa, iko sawa. It is okay. Hakuna. Nobody has had to leave for others to come in. We are all here, and that is the beauty of our nation, and that is the beauty of unity. And so, I want to encourage all of us here that we can do this together as Kenyans. Mwisho kabisa, as we move forward, we will continue to look at the issues that have been raised here, issues of education, and how we can mainstream religious education and find a nexus between religious education and the formal education that we have. So we will look at what we need to do. Mumesema mambo ya waqf, and I agree with you. It is it's taken too long. There is absolutely no reason, and I had a problem with the AG who was there. He was fairly incompetent, but I now have a very competent lady. I now have a very competent lady, and I can assure you that the issues of work will be sorted out in a matter of months. I also want to assure you that our Nubian brothers and sisters are solid members of the Kenyan society. And therefore, they are going to be mainstreamed as a Kenyan community, either by madaraka or by Jamhuri. So at least this year, we will conclude the exercise of them being mainstreamed as part of the Kenyan society, because indeed they have made huge contributions to the development of our nation and to the progress of Kenya. So finally, ladies and gentlemen, I want to assure you of my support in every aspect, that you need my support. And as we build this nation, I also want to assure you that this nation can carry all of us. We want to thank God what He has done to us. Our economy is doing well. The weather is responding well. We are making good progress with all the assignments that we have. And in the middle of many difficulties that are global and different other aspects, we are making progress as a nation. Continue to pray for Kenya and continue to pray for us. And let me ask for myself, continue to pray for me as president of this nation, so that I can know what is the will of God and I can do it. So otherwise, asanteni sana. Nashukuru kwa ninyi kupata nafasi to share this moment with me and here in State House. And you are welcome another moment when you have time. Karibuni tena. Pass my regards to your families and to all the places that you are going. Asanteni sana and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Tupige makofi tena, tumpongeze kwa makofi. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Rais. Na kwa hiyo hotuba ndio tunafikia mwisho wa sherehe yetu ya leo, lakini naomba tubaki mahali tulipo mpaka our host ambaye ni Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya tayari atatoka kwa starehe zake. Lakini naomba tafadhali tubaki mahali tulipo na tunaweza tukaketi. We can take our seats. And we remain seated until His Excellency has exited at his own pleasure. Otherwise, asanteni sana na Mungu awabariki.